Sun in Cancer. This is where life begins to feel. After Gemini moves through information, ideas, and communication, Cancer brings us inward, into the emotional body, into memory, into protection, into belonging. This is cardinal water. This is the initiation of emotional awareness. So, when we're talking about individuals with the sun in Cancer, we are talking about people who are here to develop emotional intelligence, to understand safety on a deep internal level, and to learn the balance between vulnerability and protection. This is not loud energy. This is not surface level energy. Cancer moves beneath through intuition, through feeling, through subtle emotional currents that most people don't even register. So, if you have your sun in Cancer, your entire life is about learning how to feel deeply without losing yourself, how to nurture others without abandoning your own needs, and how to create emotional security that doesn't depend on external validation. Let's start with the core essence of Cancer energy. The sun represents your identity, your vitality, your ego, your sense of I am. And when the sun sits in Cancer, the statement becomes I am what I feel. I am what I protect. I am what I nurture. There is a deep connection here to the emotional body. Cancer is ruled by the moon, which governs our inner world, our instincts, our emotional rhythms, and our need for safety. So these individuals are incredibly sensitive to their own environment. They don't just observe, they absorb energy, emotions, tension, unspoken dynamics. Cancer suns pick up on all of it. And in its highest expression, this energy is incredibly nurturing. Cancer suns are intuitive, empathetic, and deeply caring. They have a natural ability to make others feel safe, seen, and emotionally supported. They are protectors, not in an aggressive way, but in a deeply instinctual way. They want to create environments where people can soften, where people can be real, where people can feel at home. There is also this strong connection to memory. Cancer holds on to the past, not just in a nostalgic way, but as a way to understand emotional patterns. They remember how things felt. And that gives them a depth of emotional intelligence that is unmatched when they are aligned. They understand what people need, sometimes before those people even realize it themselves. Now let's talk about the ego. The Cancer ego is built around emotional safety and belonging. These individuals need to feel secure in their environment, in their relationships, in their inner world. And this is where the shadow begins to show. Because when your identity is tied to your emotional state, it can become unstable. Emotions change, they rise, they fall, they shift. So, in its lower expression, the sun in Cancer can become overly sensitive, reactive, and protective to the point of isolation. This can look like taking things personally, even when they're not meant that way. It can look like withdrawing when hurt instead of communicating. It can look like building emotional walls so high that no one can truly get in. There can also be a tendency toward moodiness. Because Cancer is ruled by the moon, their emotional state can fluctuate. And if they're not aware of this, they can act based on how they feel in the moment rather than what is actually happening. Another shadow expression is emotional dependency. This can show up as relying on others for validation, for comfort, for a sense of stability. And when that is not received, it can create feelings of abandonment or insecurity. There can also be passive communication. Instead of expressing needs directly, Cancer may expect others to intuitively understand them. And when that doesn't happen, it creates resentment. Now let's talk about identity development. Cancer suns are here to build emotional security from within. But the challenge is that they often look for that security externally first, through family, relationships, environments. They may attach their sense of self to who they are connected to. So their journey is about learning that safety is something they create internally, not something that is guaranteed by others. And this is a process because Cancer needs to feel safe before they can open. But at some point, they have to realize that complete safety does not exist externally. There will always be uncertainty. So the question becomes, can you feel safe within yourself even when everything around you is changing? That's the deeper work. Now let's move into relationships. Cancer suns are deeply devoted partners. They are nurturing, caring, and emotionally invested. They want to build something meaningful, something that feels like home. They are protective of the people they love. They will go out of their way to support, to comfort, to hold space. But the challenge comes with boundaries. Because Cancer can give so much to others that they lose themselves. They may prioritize others' needs over their own. They may stay in situations out of emotional attachment rather than alignment. There can also be fear of vulnerability. Even though Cancer is deeply emotional, they don't always express it openly. They may protect their feelings out of fear of being hurt. So the growth here is learning how to communicate emotions clearly, not expecting others to read your mind, not suppressing what you feel, but expressing it in a way that creates connection rather than distance. Now let's talk about navigating difficult energies. When Cancer energy is out of balance, it becomes defensive. So the first step is awareness of emotional triggers. What situations make you feel unsafe? What situations make you want to withdraw? What situations cause you to shut down or become reactive? Once you identify those patterns, the work is to create space between the feeling and the reaction. Because emotions are valid, but reactions are choices. And this is where your power is. Another important practice is emotional processing, not just feeling, but understanding. Why do you feel this way? Where is this coming from? Is this about the present moment, or is this connected to something from the past? Because Cancer holds on to memory, and sometimes those memories shape current reactions, you also need boundaries. And this is essential because your empathy can lead you to absorb too much from others. Learning to differentiate between what is yours and what is not, that is key. Now let's talk about prevention. For Cancer suns, prevention is about self-nurturing, not waiting for others to provide emotional support, but learning how to give that to yourself. Creating routines that make you feel safe, having spaces where you can retreat and recharge. It's also about communication, saying what you feel before it builds up, expressing needs clearly instead of expecting others to just know. And it's about releasing the past, not forgetting, but not allowing it to control your present. Because you are not your past experiences. You are who you choose to be now. Now, in its highest form, the sun in Cancer becomes an emotional leader, someone who creates safe spaces for others without losing themselves, someone who understands emotion without being controlled by it, someone who nurtures from a place of fullness, not depletion. This is someone who is deeply connected to themselves, who trusts their intuition, who feels without fear. So, your life path, if you have the sun in Cancer, is about mastering your emotional world, not suppressing it, not being overwhelmed by it, but understanding it, working with it, allowing it to guide you without controlling you. And when you do that, you become incredibly powerful because emotional intelligence is one of the strongest forms of intelligence there is. And when you embody that, you don't just create safety for yourself, you become a source of safety for others. And that's when everything shifts.